Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Paul James Caiden, and today we're going to talk about something a little spiritual, something a little holiday-ish, and we're just going to keep the mood light because it is that time of the year. The holidays are coming. Everybody is getting ready to celebrate, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or Yule. It's a very festive time of year, so it's a great time to do the occasional holiday or festive show, but also add a little bit of depth and dimension to it. So I'm inspired today to do this podcast based on a movie that I stumbled across probably 4 to 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more. And the name of the movie is called A Little Christmas Business. And this movie stars Daniel Baldwin, I guess brother of Alec Baldwin, Lorenzo Lamas, and even has an appearance by Bo Hopkins. You can rent this movie pretty much anywhere on Amazon, Vudu. If you have Amazon Prime, it's free to watch on Amazon Prime. And I'll tell you, this movie, it's a very B cheesy Christmas movie. The acting is pretty bad. In fact, it's terrible for the most part. The directing is not so good. It's kind of a take on the Ebenezer Scrooge kind of tale. You know, the guy who works too much, he doesn't spend enough time with his family. Now, the main character isn't a bad guy, he's just a workaholic. He's always trying to please his boss. He's running here, there, and everywhere. His wife wants him to spend more time at home. And he's always saying, yeah, I will. Yeah, I'm trying. But then he's always, out the door. And eventually what happens is he goes to this office building to get some signatures for something, for his work, for his boss. And he goes in there and he meets all these people from his past. The nurse from when he was in kindergarten and school or first grade or third grade, something like that. 2 old friends of his boxing coach from school. He's running into all these people that he knew years ago. And he's thinking, wow, this is really strange. So I won't give away too much of the movie in case any of you out there want to watch it. But it's basically the Ebenezer Scrooge premise. He's visited by ghosts, in this case, the spirits of people that he knew when he was younger. All of them have passed away. And they bring him this message, of course, to change the course of his life, spend more time with the family. What's most important in life is love, it's family, it's friends. And if you're like me, I enjoy that premise in a Christmas movie. I think since I was a little kid, A Christmas Carol has always been one of my favorite stories. So anything that is a take on that, at least a good take on it, I really very much enjoy. Now, I can't say so much that A Little Christmas Business is a great or even a good take on the Scrooge story, but there's something about it. There's something about the movie, and it came about in my life almost. It was a lark, just for ha-has. This was probably about 5 years ago. I told my wife, she came home, from work one night, and we got ready to watch, TV. We were watching Christmas movies. And I said, I've taken it upon myself this year to watch every low-budget badly done Christmas movie that I can find. I don't know why I did it. I just thought it was fun and funny. And I went on Amazon and I put all these low budget movies and things with ridiculous plots in the watch list. And even some, the Christmas tragedy movies, oh God, Grandma Betty is dying and this could be her last Christmas, and it's so I used to hate those kind of movies. But now for some reason I find them interesting, even humorous, because they're so formulaic in their presentation. But, I added some of those and, so we sat down and we started watching them one by one in the watch list. And one of them, of course, was A Little Christmas Business. The funny thing about it is that some of these low budget and very bizarre or morose plots, storylines in these Christmas movies actually became some of the favorites 5 years later that me and my wife still watch every year. And one of them is A Little Christmas Business. And my wife is not one for B movies. If it's terrible, it's terrible. She doesn't give any leeway. But even she says there's something about that movie that she just likes. It's B, it's terrible. It's funny that it's so terrible in parts. How it's done kind of, on the cheese ball. But she enjoys it. And so I guess maybe that says something. I don't know what it is about that movie, but it's one of the bad movies that I really do enjoy watching every year. And you see this thing everywhere. People rate it 1 star, 2 star. People don't like it. It takes, I guess, a special kind of an individual to watch this movie and go, gee, I really see something there that I like. I suppose it's not the worst, but it's definitely not great. And, but again, there's just something about it that we seem to enjoy. And I think one of the things I really enjoy about it, that I've always enjoyed about the story A Christmas Carol and stories like it, is the idea of spirits interacting in human lives. With Scrooge, he was visited by 3 ghosts. There was only one that he knew, and that was his business partner, Jacob Marley. From there, it was just the ghost of Christmas present, Christmas past, Christmas future. But he was, taken back in time and saw these visions of things that he did when he was younger, and people that were long dead and no longer on the earth anymore. And I was always very fascinated with that. But also like stories such as A Little Christmas Business, where someone is visited by spirits at Christmas time, but it's not mysterious, spooky, ominous spirits. It's spirits of people that they knew, their sister, their friends, their coach, and how these spirits come with a mission to bring a message of hope or change and reform for the character. And it's just something that always appealed to me. And I think also for some reason, in the movie A Little Christmas Business, the office building that he goes to get the signatures, there's something about that building, because it's the way it has the wood paneling on the walls and the carpeting in the hall, and there's a Christmas tree at the end of the hall, and the green garland, hanging across the top of the wall by the ceiling. There's just something about that office building in that movie that I'm drawn to it, and I say, gee, if I was ever in the area where this movie was shot, I would like to see that building. I'm just drawn to that place. So if any of you watch the movie, see if you feel the same about the office building. I don't know what it is about it, but it's just something that I don't know, that location is I'm very drawn to it for some reason. But, on with the spirits of people coming and interacting and helping, someone who's gone astray in life. And I've always felt, since I was a little kid and I was exposed to A Christmas Carol and some of the other takes on that story that came out now and then, I always felt that this was possible and that it's something that could happen. It's not something that's going to happen, every day or every Christmas. But I've just always had this feeling inside of myself like, yeah, that could happen. Because I do feel like the spirits of those who have passed on are still around us. They still know what's going on in our lives. And I'm a believer that when we do pass on from this world, we're not going off somewhere to, float around in the heavens and we're completely oblivious to everything that happens on earth or to our loved ones. I'm very much the kind of person who thinks everything is connected. From God, the angels, the spirit world, the life on earth, the universe, I feel that everything is always connected. And that when we pass away, when we leave this world, our job is not finished. It just goes to a higher realm. We still learn, we still grow, we still may even at times come back to this world in some form, or maybe the form of a ghost or an apparition to help our loved ones, to help people who are still here in the material world. And I think sometimes that can happen through dreams. I know people that have had dreams of loved ones who gave them a very profound message of something that was happening in their lives. I've had dreams myself like this at different times in life. People have always said that they've felt a presence or an intuition, like their mother or their grandmother or their brother or whomever was talking to them, like they were giving them this advice in their consciousness, in their intuition. And I'm wondering if any of you listening have ever had that experience where you're facing a challenge in life and suddenly something just comes to you. And you have that thought like, man, that sounds or feels just like something my mother would say. I feel like my mother gave me that piece of advice. Because there are people who believe, and I also believe that spirits do interact with us on that mental, spiritual level. It's what the Bible calls the still small voice that God speaks to us in from within ourselves. And I think that all spirits have that ability, whether it be God, whether it be our deceased loved ones, whether it be an angel. I think that's one of the most prominent ways that they speak to us is through that inner voice, through that intuition, through that inner guidance. But then there's also, again, the dreams. There's people who see very clear apparitions that sometimes they say the apparition speaks and gives them a message that they need to hear. Or sometimes they just see the apparition and they get the feeling like everything's going to be okay. Or they see an apparition and suddenly they know what it is they have to do. So I think that those in the world of spirit do interact with us. They do help us. I don't think they're oblivious, as some theologies and philosophies say, well, once they leave, they never come back, and they're not concerned with what's happening here on planet Earth. I would disagree with that, for a handful of theological and spiritual and philosophical reasons. The most important one for me is that if this being we call God is real and he's personal to each and every one of us, and it is, as we say, God is love, why would a being of pure love make a system where if I die today, I completely oblivious, no more care, doesn't really matter what's happening on planet Earth with my wife or to my wife, or people that I've left behind that I, may have been close to. They're kind of out of sight, out of mind, tough noogies, as we used to say. Get through it the best you can. It's no longer my problem. I think that is a little bit cold, and it doesn't sound correct. It doesn't feel right to me when I think about that. If we as human beings think about such things, people who have terminal illness, and they think about, gee, I don't want to leave my loved ones behind. Some people say it's more sad and frightening to think about what their loved ones are going to go through if they have a terminal illness rather than themselves passing away. So if we have, as human beings, as finite creatures, we have this concern, and that we have this desire to want to know what's going on and to help and be there for our loved ones and comfort them, then why wouldn't God, why wouldn't the higher power of the universe? So I think these people who just say, no, out of sight, out of mind, I don't agree with that. Now, I do think there are rules, just like we have rules here on the physical earth. We just can't pass over into the world of spirit any old time that we want to. And like some of these charlatan mediums that, it's just like, okay, they can snap their fingers, go into trance, and call up any spirit of the deceased that you want. It's like a machine. Put in the quarter, pull the lever. Hey, here comes Pop. I don't think it works that way. I think there are certainly rules and laws, that apply to both sides. And they can't just pop in, any time that they feel like. Maybe they need approval from the higher authorities to do that sort of thing. Maybe there's a code, a rule, a law. I believe that there is. Because we have to think about it this way. When we leave this world, I don't think we sit around idly doing nothing for all eternity. I don't think we come back to this world and just hang around our loved ones and be their guardian angel, until they die. No, there's learning, there's progress for the soul once it leaves the physical body. And I think it goes on to learn those things and have that progress. But I think those souls also do check in on us. They remember us. They visitation rights, I suppose you could call it. I don't think we're forgotten. And I think at certain times in our lives, for whatever reason, for certain people, that they will get the Ebenezer Scrooge, a little Christmas business experience where they will have a dream, see an apparition, have an encounter that changes their lives, that moment of reformation. They stop a certain habit. They stop drinking. Some people will have the apparition experience and they'll stop using drugs or cheating on their spouse, or suddenly have the solution to a long-time problem. Or suddenly all fear and worry just leaves them and they know no matter what, everything's going to be okay. And that's a thought that I really love. Because when I leave this world, I mean, I try my best, and I wish my, my work was on a little bit bigger platform, because I just really like to help people. You know, I'm the kind of person, when I see someone who is hurt, broken down, everybody else has given up on them, everybody, even their families have turned their back on them. Those are the kind of people I just want to reach out to. And I've heard so many times in my life, why do you want to waste your time with somebody like that? And my answer always is, because nobody else is taking the time. Now, granted, a lot of times when you do that, there's failure. Because sadly, sometimes people can't get out of their own way. They just, for whatever reason, will not take good advice. But sometimes you get a success story. And you just feel good. It's not that you got money or pay or anything else out of it. Just that warm, wonderful feeling that say, geez, you know what? I put some effort into this person's life. And look at them now. Look at them now. Nobody ever thought that they would get out of that dark place that they were in. You know, there's no feeling like that in the world. And sometimes, most of the time, those people are some of the best people you will ever meet. Even if they can't get out of their own way. Even if it's not such a success story. You touch their lives in some way, and interestingly enough, they always touch yours back. There's always something that you take from those kind of people. And I hope one day when I leave this world, I hope that on a bigger, larger, more spiritual platform or way, I can still help people like that. Even people with little problems. I mean, the work that I do, just when you help somebody, at least for me, there is no feeling like it. It's the best feeling. Because at that moment, you were God's servant. You were God's hand. You were bringing the message of maybe God or the angels of hope to that person. And that's something we can't take lightly or for granted. And I really hope that one day when I'm not here anymore, that I still will be here in spirit. And I'll be able to help people. And maybe bring people their own Ebenezer Scrooge, A Christmas Carol, a little Christmas business experience. Even if it's a complete stranger, if I'm the guy who shows up and helps somebody and then they turn around and I'm gone. And they have their story that they go back and they tell their family and their friends, or they write it in a book. And say, geez, I remember this one time. That would be the greatest thing in the world for me. And I think that's why stories like this appeal to me so much. And I always find most of them, no matter how badly they're done, like a little Christmas business, there's something warm about the message. There's something warm and real about the presentation and the execution, even if it wasn't done that well. And I just think there's something subconsciously or spiritually within me when I watch movies like that or that movie. I feel the essence of what they're trying to say, but maybe they were limited by time or money or budget. But those kind of movies always make me think. And they always make me think the same thing. I'm grateful for those experiences that I've had in my life. And I'm grateful to hear when other people have experiences and I read them or I hear about them. Because those kind of stories bring hope. They bring hope to me. They bring hope to the people that hear them and hope to the world. And that's the kind of thing for, again, whatever reason, that even a B kind of cheesy movie like A Little Christmas Business will make me think about. And for some reason, that movie does. And before we close out, I want to share a quick story. Every year this time, when it gets around Christmas time, I always think, I'm the kind of person I think about, my loved ones that have passed away every day. I always think about my grandmother, my grandfather, my aunts, my mother, and I think about the Christmases that we had when I was a kid. And I always put out the APB at Christmas time. I'll always tell my relatives, hey, Granny, hey, Ma, if anybody wants to drop in and say Merry Christmas and let me know that you're around, that would be the greatest present I could receive. Because I love you guys. I think about you guys all the time. I'd like to see you guys this time of year or have a little nod that you're around. And sometimes nothing happens, and that's okay. Because I feel their love around me and in me. But then sometimes, like last year, I got up Christmas morning at about 5:30, 5:45. It was still dark. I came out of the bedroom. I walked down the hall, and I don't know if I'll do it this year, but I had this stupid thing that I'll take my camera and I'll go out. I'll plug in the tree, and I'll film the house and the sleeping cats and everybody sleeping in the presents. And I'll make this stupid little Christmas morning video. And, just like a little keepsake and for ha-has. So I came down the hallway. I came down the hallway. I had my camera. I flicked on the kitchen light because I was going to go around the corner into the living room and plug in the tree, shut off the kitchen light, and proceed with my Christmas morning filming. And I was standing in the hallway. The hallway, there was the kitchen door right there I was facing. I flicked on the light. I was about to step into the kitchen. And I felt this very strong presence of like a static electricity. It came up my back, over my shoulders, down my arms, and up the back of my head. And I could feel like this static electricity just moving and kind of buzzing all around me. And I could see the hair on my arms just kind of start to lift. And I know that a lot of people say that when you have that feeling of like cobwebs going across your skin or static electricity, around you, chances are that It's a spirit touching you. Most likely a loved one letting you know that they're there. And I wasn't scared. I wasn't freaked out. I felt like this static electricity, kind of cobwebby feeling. And I thought to myself, geez, is this one of my loved ones that I always invite to come and, give me that kind of Christmas nod? And the funny thing was, I stepped out of the hallway, just over the threshold into the kitchen, and I didn't feel it. I reached my hand back into the hallway and I felt it. And I reached a little further and I felt like my arm was going into it up to the elbow. And then I did it with the other arm, same thing. Pulled my hand out back into the kitchen, nothing. I stepped back into the hallway, and as I stepped into the hallway, I stepped back into that kind of static electricity cobweb feeling. Then I stepped out of the kitchen again, or back into the kitchen, nothing. Stepped back into the hallway, there it was again, and then it started to fade. So I really feel that someone was there. I feel that someone did show up in some form to say, hey, Merry Christmas. We're thinking about you too. And I feel that I kind of lean toward, I feel that it was my mother. That was the sense that I got, but it was just very strange to me, that I could step into the kitchen out of this energy, but then reach into the hallway and touch it and step back into it by stepping back into the hall, several times doing this. Very, very fascinating experience. And I do really feel that someone was there, and it kind of bolsters my faith that, yeah, those that pass on, they can come back. We can come back and interact with our loved ones or other people here on the earth. We can, if you will, come back in spirit. And sometimes our loved ones do. And maybe they tend to a little Christmas business. Maybe to help someone out, or just stop by and say, hi, I love you, Merry Christmas. And maybe that's something we can all do this Christmas time. Maybe we can all put out the APB for our loved ones and say, hey, I think about you all the time. I really think about you this time of year. If it's possible, if you can, hey, drop by. Let me know you're around. That would mean a lot. And then see what happens. And if you do get an experience of some kind, drop me a line. My email is always in the podcast description, nocturnalmagic@gmail.com. I'd love to hear if, something happens that you have your own spiritual Christmas experience this year. I'll tell you, it's just a great experience to have. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean we sit back and sulk and say, oh, nothing ever happens for me, or, oh, they must not love me. Well, no, remember, there's rules, there's laws, there's always a reason. This is something I do every year for years now. And sometimes, a couple times, something really cool happened. Other times, nada. But like I said, I feel that love around me, within me. And I think, again, how spirits can communicate with us through our intuition, our thoughts, our feelings. I think when we're gathered with our loved ones, or just sitting in our living room looking at the lights on the tree before we go to bed on Christmas Eve night, or any night during the holiday season, and we just feel like, wow, I feel like there's just such love in my heart. I feel like, my loved ones are really near, like they're right here in the room with me, looking at the lights, the holiday lights with me. I do feel that that's a legitimate experience. And the chances are they probably are right there with us, and we're feeling it. And that feeling of love and that feeling of their presence there with us is their way of letting us know they are there. So listen, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I wanted to keep it light. I wanted to talk about this subject. I was really inspired. I watched a little Christmas business, a couple nights ago. And like I said, I don't know. It's just a cheese ball movie that somehow I really enjoy, and it makes an impact. So if you want to check it out for yourself and see if you like it, you hate it, thumbs up, thumbs down. That is A Little Christmas Business, starring Daniel Baldwin. It has Lorenzo Lamas, Bo Hopkins, and some other folks that I don't really remember their names. But, it's a 2013 movie. It's on Amazon Prime. Check it out. See what you think. And again, drop me a line and let me know what you think about the movie. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think the office building in the movie was just something about it? Or to you, it was just a building, and I don't know what the hell this guy on the podcast is talking about. Nothing special about it. Hey, that's okay too. Let me know your thoughts. I appreciate you guys listening, and I'll see you next time here on the Spirit Side.